everyone, welcome to the Madhouse. It is the Madhouse Nexus here. How's everyone doing? It's still really warm, even though the weather is sort of on the turn. It's really, really warm in here, so I hope everyone else is okay. Yeah, my new time slot. I need to sort my hair out. It looks an absolute mess at the moment. I need to get it, I don't know, cut or something. So how's everyone doing? Yeah, been busy doing bits and bobs here. I've still got a lot of work to do. I've still got the last stage of the enterprise build, and I've got pack 9 here of the Knight Rider. So I've still got all that to do. I've got pack 10 on the way and pack 11 now as well. So they really are pushing that out to me. Good afternoon, Kenneth. How's it going? Thanks for the love. Hi, Scott. Good. I had a good week. It's a bit cooler down here. I'll tell you what, it's muggy. It's not cold. It's definitely cooler, but it's still really, really muggy up here. Really muggy. Hi, Ian. How's it going? Nice to have you here. Hi, buddy. New member. I want to thank you for your videos on the builds. Very helpful. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do it. I do it mainly for me, but if everybody else loves what I do, it's great. And now that Fanhome are now working with me, it shows that all the hard work that I've put in is starting to pay off, really, which is really nice. So what everyone else been up to? So a few things I want to discuss. So last week I did this, and I discussed the Nissan Skyline. I'm sure these companies are watching my videos, which is brilliant. The other thing was I did a roundup video. So every week now I do a sort of roundup of new partworks that are starting, what's been going on and all that sort of stuff. I used to do them, the videos, then I stopped. I've started them back up again. And I talked about what I would like as a partwork to come out. One of them was Nissan Skyline. I posted that on the Saturday, and on the Saturday it went live in France. The website went live. It's not due to start until the 1st of October. So that most likely will come here to the UK. My contact at Fanhome, which is what it would come out through, he's on holiday at the moment. So when he comes back next week, I should have a bit more clarification on that. But I'm almost 100% certain that will be out. But I don't know if it's when it's coming out as of yet, but I've got a very funny feeling that it's going to be the same as the Optimus Prime build. So it comes out in France on the 1st of October. So I think they're going to be probably 1 or 2 issues ahead, just like they are of Optimus Prime, but it's going to go live around the same sort of time, I believe. I've just got a funny feeling that's what's going to happen. It may not, but it would work really well, especially trying to get people on board. So the Dodge Charger in the newsagents finishes in November. So if they can grab them beforehand, that would work better. I really do like the Nissan Skyline. I'm getting it. I've already said. I know I said that I wouldn't do many more car builds, but to have that and the Dodge Charger from Fast and Furious, it's a complete no-brainer. It looks really, really good. It's got a lot more going on. There's a lot more on the dash. We've got it's got like a speaker thing in the back. It also has a lot of body kit on it as well, and it's got the neon lights underneath. It looks so much better, so much better. So I definitely will be building that. Hi Mark, how's it going? Nice to have you here. So yeah, so I'm going to be building that. The ISS, some people were asking about the ISS space station. It is coming out. It will be offered to the UK. I don't know when, but I reached out to D'Agostini. Fanhome is not part of that core group, if you know what I mean. It is part of D'Agostini, but not. But I did ask them, and they said there is plans in place for it to come out to the UK. They don't know a date or anything yet. It's promising, but it will be it won't be in the newsagents, and it will be under the Fanhome publication site over here, which I believe D'Agostini and Model Space were separate, and then they got merged together into one place. So if Model Space was still about, the ISS would be through Model Space. But yes, what I've been told is that is coming out. Dungeons and Dragons started today. I did do a small video on it as I got it. It's not worth the money. If you're interested in that sort of thing, you're probably already doing it if you're interested, so it's probably no good to you. If you're starting out in D&D, it's not a good starting point. There are a lot more cheaper, and I mean really cheaper ways. They do a whole set for £20 in HMV, and that gives you everything that you need. It gives you the board, the sheets, the core rules, the core book as well. It's called. You get a rule book, and then you also get a core book as well. The characters, and all the dice and everything you need for £20. Yet this is going to be over 80 issues. It's going to cost you over £700 to have something. Lots of stuff you probably will get a lot of duplicates of. So you only need one set of dice, but I believe you're going to get multiple sets of them. It is what it is, but it's not for me. But it might be to someone, but definitely not for me. Value for money wise, it's not value for money at all. I suppose it's quite good if there's a lot of people. We've just had the Dungeons and Dragons film. It became ultra popular when obviously Stranger Things was about. So they're obviously capitalising on a few things there. But if you were going to get it for your kids or anything like that, or you want them to get into it, get the essential. It's called the Essentials Kit. Type it in, Dungeons and Dragons, the Essentials Kit. It's about £20, and that's all you need. Literally, it has everything that you need. You do not need loads of different dice or loads of different characters. You just need the core bits and the rule book. And you're going to get this, but you're going to get more in-depth stuff as well with it. But you don't really need that to play the game. So it is what it is. Evening. Hi, Jason. How's it going? And obviously Ian there talking. Yeah. So also just found out just before I came on, I checked the websites all over the place. So always checking on them. Earlier on today, D'Agostini updated the French side of the website for RoboCop, where they put the last 4 issues up. So they're on there. And just like I suspected, so I did say on my last live stream last week, and I think I mentioned it on, we didn't mention it on our stream with Mark, because I forgot all about it, because we were so talking about other things. But yeah, so my understanding with the RoboCop was that you would only get the bottom half of the face. This is due to licensing. It's the same reason why they had to break up the face of the Batman figure that they brought out. So the Batman figure, you build the face, but it's all in bits, and it doesn't look like Christian Bale at all. And it was never supposed to. And that is because when they do the licensing, so just like this, so we get this, it's just sitting there. So if they get this, just to run it through here. So when they get the car for the license, they license them to do the car, but they'll need the license to do his likeness if they wanted to do something with the Hoff. They don't have the license of RoboCop. That's the reason why the French version has English speaking, because when they licensed it, they only licensed it for RoboCop itself. Now, in order to get a French translation, they would have had to pay the French translator who dubbed the film for them. They would have had to get license from him as well, because when they make these movies and they make them to other countries, they get other people to do their voiceover, but they have to obviously contract them to do that, and they wouldn't be able to use that sound bite with the voices from their dubbed version. So that is why the French version sounds English, because when they applied for the license, they got RoboCop the license, which is fine, but it's the original RoboCop English version. If they wanted the French version, they would have had to get a separate license to have the dubbed version, which they were never going to do. Talking about the face, they would have to have got a license to do Peter Weller's face, the whole face. And I knew instantly they were never going to do that. Why? Because it would have probably doubled the licensing cost. So the license for Robocop is probably small, but to get a licensing of an actual actor is ridiculously expensive. It's one of the reasons why we never got a Robbie Downey Jr. face for Iron Man, because they would have had to license for Iron Man. That is why we've only got the bottom half of the face. I would have thought we'd got the nose as well, maybe just here, but no, we got under the nose. A lot of people have been asking, actually. I posted it on. Lots of people have been asking, why does the helmet come off? Good question. I just think it's a cosmetic thing, just to put the face on, extra bits. Someone also said about the back of the head. The back of the head should be more detailed. I was expecting them to do a bit that goes around the back. They're not. So there is potential there to either paint it. Some people have. I've seen Jason painted the back of his. I've seen other people do it as well. But the back of the head is blank. It's black, like it is on the issue 1 and 2. But yeah, it's not very good. It looks very, 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 very basic. Let's put it that way. Jason, I'm planning to do my own face. I did think you would, and I know Ian is as well. I've got a 3D printer, but I would expect a resin printer would be much better for doing the facial features and stuff like that. But there will definitely be calls for it. That's for sure. I'm hoping the French Batman is English as well. It will be. Like I've just said, when they licensed the Batman, it would have been the English version, meaning they would have had, meaning obviously Christian Bale's lines in the film are dubbed over for the French, obviously. So they would have to get the license for the French dubber, if you know what I mean, which I don't think they're going to pay for. And for a film that old, they might not be able to. It would be a delay if they could. I would expect that would be English. But you never know. But this is like the first time that they've had sort of a language speech thing. Obviously, if it was a language thing, sort of like, I don't know, something that was done in French originally, they would have got that. But yeah, the voicing and stuff like that is definitely something that they would have sorted. So unless you're James L. Jones and signed your voiceover. Yeah, dubbing, like I said, dubbing, you still need the actor or the person that dubbed it, you still need their likeness, because the film itself, so when you apply, say Knight Rider's the whole show and effectively the car, but not the actors, because obviously they have to pay the actors and they come in like it would. So it's another reason of that as well. It's all about money. It's all about money. That's all you need to know. Kev, can you get me the size of the premium base in tonight? It got on myself also. Yeah, I'll try and get that. I did see your post and I did put it's going to be big. It's bigger than, I know it's bigger than the Iron Man one, or around the same sort of size, just with the edges cut off. It's oversized, hugely oversized, and the grabber, the center grabber that they use it on Hot Toys as well. They're horrible. The one for Robocop is as well. Someone sent me a photo of, it's a very, very thin pole, and it sort of goes around his waist to hold him up. But it bows, because Robocop is so big and heavy. It once again, it's got that center of gravity where it wants to push forward. It does hold it, but it bends it. But the pole, I do believe, for the premium base is the same. So, yeah. I can't recall, Jason, if I subscribed to base as well. I think the other way I'd hang it off the wall. Like, yeah, it's much. I think that base is much better as a display piece than to actually put him on, because it's overly sized. Same thing's going to be for the for Optimus Prime as well. Because I believe does that come with a base? I'm not too sure. I know it comes with a display case, but I'm not too sure if it comes with a base. I'm trying to actually see if I've got anything. I don't think I have. I don't think it does actually. Come to think of it, but yeah, it's overly sized. It's bigger than it should be. Let's put it that way. For the Iron Man, it's bigger, but I think the base that the Iron Man was provided with is better for his landing pose. Robocop doesn't do that, so it looks good, but it's just a bit oversized. Are Fan Home a new company? As I know others that lost faith in other builds, just worried for 2 years down the line. Fan Home is fairly new, I would say. It's about 3 or 4 years old now. But they're part of the Agostini, so they're safe. Yeah, so don't worry in that respect. Obviously there was a lot of problems behind the scenes with Eagle Moss in the reasons that it collapsed, and we've been over this quite a lot now. But it was to do with investing money and stuff like that. That was Eagle Moss's problem. It wasn't down to the builds or anything like that. It was bad investment and bad stock management that led to the downfall of Eagle Moss. But I haven't had any problems with Fan Home. Not one. They're really, really good. They're part of a big company as well, the Agostini. So, yeah, very much confidence with them. I've got a lot of Robocop bits. I did the chair. Yeah, I remember you doing that. And I'm going to do the jetpack face and base. Yeah, I know you did the chair, but you were going to wait until he was fully built to see if it was viable, didn't you? See if it was viable to bring out. It was fairly big. I know that. And you were going to do the monitors as well, weren't you? The jetpack and the arm cannon would probably be a very, very good add-on for it if you can do them. That's for sure. Just because I know a lot of people would want that. I don't really know why, because Robocop 3 was the worst one out of all of them, but everyone seems to like the jetpack and the bazooka arm as it is, which has the bazooka, flamethrower, machine gun. It has like everything all attached to it, doesn't it? The only problem with doing that is you'd have to take the black bit off of his arm to connect it. I don't know how you could do that on the build. I know it's there. I don't know if it's... I can't remember how easy it is to get on and off. But if you can do that, I know a lot of people would have it, especially a jetpack. But you would need the big gun arm thing as well. But yeah, I do remember you doing. I remember when it first come out, Jason, and you were doing the chair. It looks absolutely awesome. But it's one of those little bits that I think would suit Robo really well. You could sit on the chair and the monitor thing, and then if you could get the backpack and the arm cannon, put them on a stand like he has in Robo 3, that would work as well. But also, don't forget his jetpack. He does have a jetpack, but he also has 2 arm and leg things on it as well. Those bits are easily missed because everyone goes, "Oh, cool, we'll get the jetpack," but it's actually not just the jetpack. He has sort of arm gauntlets as well for it, and I believe he has attachments to his legs for it as well. I think they go on his thighs. They're like little boosters, I think, as well. But yeah, hi John, how's it going? But yeah, there was like I said, by the looks of it though, the bottom of the face looks really, really, really basic, very basic, which is a bit of a downer, really. It looks very pale. I don't know if it's just like the promotional images they've done, but yeah, I mean, I've got an action figure just sitting here, Seth Rollins one, and he's got a better paint app on him than the RoboCop looks like it's going to have. So, but I weren't expecting like a miracle thing. I always thought it was going to be the bottom of the face, but I really what people wanted was the full face, and I think a lot of people are just disappointed by it all. But it's good that we know this now going forward. We're still 2 years away from finishing and building ours, so you never know what will happen. but obviously Ian and Jason are on the case there to bring us something a little bit better. So that's good. Yeah, I've still got one issue of the Enterprise build to bring. I've not heard anything more. So I paid for this Enterprise build about 2 months ago. It came when did it came? It came about 4 weeks ago, and nothing else has happened. My other one hasn't generated. They've not tried to take any money, which would be issue 9. So I don't know what's happening with that. It's all gone very, very quiet. But I'm hoping that with the end of Ecto 1, that the Enterprise sort of catches up. I'm not the only one. Lots of people have said they got issue 22. They're still waiting for issue 23 to upload and everything else. Some other people seem to be getting it more regularly, while others are having to wait. I am having to wait. So, yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that. But I know eventually it will happen. I'm going to send you the replacement pipe in a few days for Ecto 1. Would you mind doing a test fit and let me know? Sorry, Kev. What's that? Oh, right, okay, yeah. I know. So the grey pipe on Ecto 1. We were discussing just before we come on here, actually, it's always those little bits of detail. Like the whole build's great and looks great, and then it's those little bits, isn't it? It's always those little bits that ruin it. The grey pipe on Ecto 1, the face on Robocop, the scanner on the kit car. Yeah, it's just, the build itself has been great, but I know that the scanner has been an awful nightmare for everyone. I think doing it and running the scanner has been problematic. You've also, like I said, we've had the problem with the pipe for Ecto 1, where it's just the wrong color and it's just bent wrong and everything else. And now the face for Robocop, it's all these little fine details, and once again they're all bits that come very near the end of the build. So yeah, it's just would be good to know how Robocop compares to Iron Man. Yeah, I think he's slightly bigger than Iron Man, but I know for a fact Robocop is, I would say, about 90% die-cast. So all these metal parts on him that you see, his arms, his legs, his chest section, and his back, that is all die-cast. The helmet's die-cast. Iron Man is mainly plastic. A lot of the red parts on Iron Man and gold parts are actually plastic. I think his feet and his hands are die-cast, and his head. But I believe his chest and a lot of the other components on him are all plastic. So in terms of the die-cast plastic debate, Robo is definitely better. But yeah, hopefully it's better. That's what I've heard. The grey pipe, yes, it's because there's only 1 mil thick wall on the pipe, and to keep it rigid, they have gone for a plastic compound. Yeah. They've cheaped out. They've made it cheaper, basically. A lot of these companies cheap out like that. Hey, I'm just interested to know, did you have issue 29 on the Batmobile tumbler? No, it never turned up today. I went to the newsagents. The Disney doll, we're missing issue 86, but I got issue 87, so I'm just waiting for issue 86. I got the Dodge Charger today, but no tumbler build. I'm hoping it's there tomorrow. That's what I'm hoping, and then I can do the video. But I wasn't planning on getting it today anyway. I happened to be in the area, and I popped in, and it wasn't there. But I'm I've got to go to my newsagents tomorrow anyway, but I was just passing. I thought I'd just drop in. So I'm hoping it's there tomorrow. If not, it will be at some point. And it's annoying because everyone wants to know what's in issue 30. What's to do with the that ball bearing cage that we've got. No one really knows what it's for, but we're hoping issue 30 tells us that. Otherwise, we don't know what's going on with it. But yeah, we're a bit behind now on the Doll's House. So issue 86 should have been last week. This week's one's turned up, but we can't do any work on it because we need the stuff from last issue. So that's annoying. Got my next parts for Ecto today. Nice. See, Ecto 1 seems to be working fine. It's the Enterprise build that isn't. I want to pay for it so I can get it sorted. But if it's not there, I can't pay for it. It's really annoying. But I'm hoping it's there the end of this week or next, so I can get it sorted. That's what I'm hoping. And rigid is the wrong option. Yeah. What issue are you at, Mark? I think Mark must be near the. You must be at the last issue now, must you, Mark? You must be near the end. I know the very, very last issue was a dust cover, but we're not getting that now, I believe. So I hope the middle stays together better than the Iron Man, as mine falls apart easily. Yeah. So hang on, what happened there? Did that just drop? I don't know what. I don't know. Yeah. So Iron Man, because you can take the chest out and the arc, obviously to put the light on. The chest is very easy. RoboCop 1 is screwed back and forth. So you screw the front panels on, and then you clip on the back panel with the battery pack and everything else. Apparently, it fits like a dream. So I redid all my Ecto roof. The one they gave is not, let's just say, up to scratch. Yeah. Let's just say it is not very good. 35, Ian. Same as Wayne. Yeah, I think it's the last one, isn't it? 35? Is that the last one? There was supposed to be 36, but I think that's just one part, which is the dust cover. And I think Fan Home have already said they're not doing that. So... I think they said they had some issue. They said they were having issues sending to some retailers. Yeah, so my newsagent last week got all of our issues, but didn't get the Doll's House last week. And this week he got all the issues, but didn't get the Tumbler. But saying that, last week he didn't get the Warhammer magazine neither, not until I think that came in on Saturday. And he also this week didn't get the Warhammer stuff. He did actually say that he's heard that they're having problems. Not a hash yet, but WH Smith News are having problems sending stuff to people. I don't understand why or how, but they seem to send everything else all right. I've got all the issues of the Tumblr, not done anything with it yet. Or is that going to be one you send to someone, Ian? Maybe. To build. I'll be ordering the upgraded blue flashing lights, as the real ones don't work, as the motor in them are rubbish. It's too loud, Mark. It's the lights on the top are just too loud. And like I said, we said this at the time. This is when Eagle Moss was about, and we said this at the time. I know some people came up with some solutions, didn't they, where they were putting in washers, or they were spacing the cogs in it, or changing the cogs, because that's where the noise comes from. It's those plasticky cogs that are in it. And someone said it's because they're not secure down enough. There was loads of solutions, but I think the only solution is the one that Ian's given you, which is the quietest one and the best one. It's good to see Ecto 1 coming to its conclusion for folks after years. Yeah, I just want the Enterprise done now. I'm quite far behind. Most people are on issue 22. I'm on issue 8. But one, I started very late on it. And then there were some problems with Eagle Moss, where they cancelled it for no reason. Then they restarted it. I got it all back. And then it was there were trouble with the payment. I don't really know why, because the money was there. They said they couldn't take any money, even though there was money in the bank. And then I found out the problems with Eaglemoss, so I cancelled it, because before it got too far in, if it was. But now it's been rescued, I can complete it. But that is why I'm a bit far behind on it. So the motors are rubbish. Yeah, they are. They've used cheap again. Cheap. Ordered acrylic cover. Acrylic cover for the XO1. Haven't received it yet, but we'll update when do, Kev. Right, nice one. He's that'll be display case for it, won't it? Did Eaglemoss ever do a display case for it? I know they did one for the DeLorean. But I'm wondering if they did one for, was they going to do one for XO1? I'm not too sure. Lots of places now are starting to offer the cases as a premium subscription. They have with Optimus Prime. I believe they have as well with the Knight Rider as well. But they've obviously seen that there's a bit of a gap in the market there, and they've gone, oh, we can offer that. But I know some of them have been not very good. Some of the cases that they've done have not been very good. Sorry, guys, got to dash. Work calling. Happy building. Catch you all soon. Yeah, see you later. Thank you. Don't know. I didn't know, Kev. I think I'd save them all for me to do when things are slack. Yeah. And then you can watch where we've gone wrong or done something not right and everything else. And then you won't make mistakes like we all do or have. That's for sure. So in my one, which is here, my interior, I've put on one of the seat braces wrong. I've just left it like it. But here it is. But as you can see, so we've got this one here. Well, look, right, this one here. Yeah, so it's supposed to be straight, and this one has got the bend in. So they're both different, but they're not supposed to be like both. They're supposed to be straight. That was just me rushing it, and I should know better, really. Slip. Yep. I got the tumbler up to date, but I'm not doing a lot of the mods for the interior. No, there is a lot of mods for the interior. I mean, if you're talking accuracy, well, firstly, that bit here shouldn't be here. This front section here, because that is where the front canopy sits. So you know where he goes in, he fires the rockets. That's the part he slides into. So that actual bit isn't supposed to be there. And then you've got all these monitors here. Then you've got the lights at the side. I don't know how well you can pick them up there. Not only that, I think you're going to have some monitors here as well on either side. So you're going to have 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 monitors. Plus, if you go for a monitor in the control as well. So there's a lot of wiring to be done. If you were modding it, there's a lot there. But it's trying to get that into a position. I know it sinks into the car, so it's sort of just sunk in, if you know what I mean. I've not restarted the Enterprise deal with Fan Home. I don't think I will, mainly due to a light bleed. So I might make a crash scene with what I do have. Yeah, go for it. I know that a lot of people were saying if they didn't come back, they were going to do the Generations crash, where obviously they crush it into the planet's surface, Viridian 3. But yeah, I know a lot of people were thinking about doing that, and then I've sort of started it back up. It's going to be interesting to see how Wayne gets on with it, because obviously he had lots of big plans for the last one he did, in regards to replacing all the lights in it and replacing all the windows as well and stuff like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he copes with the new one. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch. Not for Ecto 1 and DeLorean cases was a poor fit, but covers Iron Man okay. Yeah. So I know that they once again, I think we're using that word again, cheap. I think they were cheap cases, but like I said, I know that there are a lot of people doing them. I think Scott over at Building with the Boys, he's setting up a case place. I know he knows someone that can make cases, and they're setting up a website so you can custom have them, so you can have them with all the bells and whistles, and they do a cheap option as well. I know he said he was trying to set that up, so that's quite good to know. I'm the same, Ian, saving all my Tumblr, but I'm waiting for potential mods. There's going to be some for it. It's got to be, especially for that interior. I think there's a lot of potential there to mod it, but I think in terms of like where you go into the canopy and stuff, I don't think you'll be able to mod that as you want, if you know what I mean. Because like I said, that area has a lot of monitors in as well in that canopy, and obviously the chair should slide across and down into it, so it comes across and sort of slides down, just like in the very first film. And you don't have the potential to do that. In fact, it looks more like they've copied the interior from the Hot Toys version of it, because the Hot Toys version has that particular screen and that cover in there, which obviously in the actual movie it doesn't have. So hi Marks, hi D, D's in the house. Tumblr already has a mod to correct the windows. Yes, yeah, I like it. I like getting up with that. So the windows, if people don't know, the windows should have a sort of a gold tint to the windows, which they don't have. But Ian has kindly corrected that, and it is on the actual filming one, because a lot of the filming of the first film was in the dark. It's not very hard to see, but you do get glimmers of it. And the actual version of it, if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, you can see it has this bronze reflective material on the windows. It even says in the movie, or behind the scenes, it even says behind the scenes movie, the reason they done that was for the cameras. Apparently the black reflects the light, but this bronze tint they put over the front of the windscreen doesn't reflect it very well, the light. So that's why they chose that. I was told by FanHome they do not like us YouTubers doing mods and selling them. No, they don't. I think that's why Wayne's doing the Enterprise as it's coming now. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I know mods cause obviously it does wonders for us as builders, because it gets us a much more accurate version, and it corrects a lot of the mistakes that they've actually made themselves, which you shouldn't be doing, but you do. But I also know that mods cause the company headaches. So yes, that's probably right. But I do know that mods they don't mind. Now I know this for a fact because I've spoken to people at Agora as well as Hachette and things like that. They do not mind modding your own stuff. Okay, yeah, I know that. If I want to go ahead and mod my Tumblr, I can do it personally myself, right? They don't mind that. In fact, they encourage it. Agora also encourage it. So what they will do is they will any mods that you make, they commonly make it. They put it in a blog and all that. I know Agora doesn't mind people doing the mods because they've reached out to Ian and I think yourself as well and promoted it on their actual website. So they don't mind that. But what the companies don't like, going back to Eagle Moss. Now I know now they're not around anymore, so I can talk about them all day long. So Eagle Moss hated you doing mods. Why? because they bought the license. This is what I was told from insiders. So they pay the license tour to get the model, and it gets signed off by CBS. We'll talk about the Enterprise here. And they spend a lot of money tooling it and licensing it as well. And then what happens is modders come along and obviously rightfully correct the mistakes that they've made. But what happens is they don't like it because you haven't paid for a license to do it, and you're making money on something that they've made or not made properly in their case. So they don't like it. Also as well, they also don't like it because people see it on Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. And then what happens is they try the mod and they break their model, and then they expect Eaglemoss in this case to replace the parts for a mistake that they made. But then they go back and say, oh, hang on, I followed a YouTuber, or I followed what they said on Facebook. I didn't know it would do this. That's why when Eaglemoss was about, they put out a thing saying, if you damage your own stuff through modding, that is up you. That's your fault. It's nothing to do with us. So I think there was that as well. I know that they had problems with the DeLorean as well. So I know one of the complaints that they had was with the things like the Christmas tree and the flux capacitor. And so a lot of people were obviously getting the mods and then showing them off on their YouTube channel. And then what they were saying was to Eaglemoss was they didn't think that they didn't think that they should pay up for this mod. Eaglemoss should pay for the mod for my vehicle because it's their mistake. So they should pay to rectify it. They were also having complaints as well because people would finish their Ecto, their DeLorean, and then they were saying, so where's the Christmas tree? Where's the flux capacitor? And they were saying, well, you've got all them. And they were like, but I've seen a photo of it on Facebook. People have got a much better one, so where's mine? And they were like, well, this is a mod. And they were like, I don't, there was arguments going on. Ultimately, all you need to know is that it frustrates them. It's not that they don't like them, it just frustrates them because there's a lot of people that will see the mods and then try them themselves and then break it and then expect them to replace something that they've broke because they followed someone doing a mod. It happened a lot with Eaglemoss, and they did put out a statement about it, especially with the Enterprise, where they said if you do make a mod on it and it breaks, that is on you. You'll have to pay to replace it. So that is why as well. But that could be the reason why that as well, Ian. Jason, sorry. All I can say is get it right. Then Partworks subscription companies addition to detail. Yeah. But like I said when I was on Mark with Ian, sometimes it doesn't come down to that. It comes down to budget as well. So like I said, when the DeLorean was finished and the thing like the Christmas tree and flux capacitor come up, Mark Robinson did an interview. And I will try and see if I can get that interview for you, Ian. But he did say in an interview about it, saying, of course, he wanted it to be better. He said when he signed it off, that was not the flux capacitor or the Christmas tree he signed off on. It was a different design. When it came back, and it was that very poor design, he was not happy. But at which point they had already made the batch, they had already completed the model, and it was too late. And financially, they couldn't do it. And so he said, if he said it would have been better, it should have been better, but he said financially they couldn't do it, and that was what we got. He said, obviously, things like that. If you want more better stuff, then it means issues would cost more. And they try and keep costs, obviously, as you know, down, so they keep their profits up. And also they want to keep us buying them. So if they increase the cost, that could also increase people buying stuff as well. So there's a whole big thing here. They should be making these builds like they meant to with the detail. They shouldn't be skimping on it, but it does happen. And the detail isn't right. And part work upgrades and Mr. Fusion, they're brilliant because they rectify them. They shouldn't be. They should. There's no disrespect to you, Ian, or anyone, or Jason, but you shouldn't really need part work upgrades or Mr. Fusion, because if the parts were all right at the start, we wouldn't need to buy the upgrades to fix them. But it's just the way it is. Like I said, I've built part works for over 10 years now, and I have not come across a part work that has been perfect or needed some sort of adjustment or extra part. It's just I've come to the point where I've accepted that, and it is the norm, but it shouldn't be. You're totally right, it shouldn't be. And all the details should be finalized and perfect. And really, they should get a lot of people in the industry like yourself, people who do mods, people who know the movies and the TV series off by heart, so they can then see the final product and say, well, that shouldn't be like that. Could you change it? Could you do this? Could you do that? But once again, that then comes down to if it's profitable or in the budget. And some of the cases, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the silly little mistakes or the silly little attention to detail that should be corrected isn't. It's normally down to budget. But yeah, I totally know where you're coming from, Ian. Agora is cool, but Fan Home don't like it. No, and I don't think Hachette do too. But they're not the most. Well, they're not vocal at all on the part work thing. I think they're on the case of less is more. I think Hachette do. So if they don't say anything, no one can have any backlash, and they can't really. There's not a thingy there. I think companies like Agora and Fan Home are much more vocal, and they keep us much more in the loop than IXO and Hachette. So I've always found Hachette to be more is less in terms of letting you know what's going on, part works and tests and what they've got planned, where Fan Home and Agora are much more open, I would say, in discussing what they like and dislike, what's coming out, what's not coming out, if there's problems and stuff like that. Sometimes it's good, sometimes that is bad. But I think this is why Hachette keep a distance, because I don't think they've bothered too much about stuff when they should be. Yeah. Arguments both ways, Kev. Yeah, definitely. Sorry to be critical, but if you cannot offer a screen accurate build, considering what subscribers pay, then perhaps they should say no. I'm sure the community would pay the extra. You'd be surprised. Look at the Alien build. It's been affected because of how much each pack costs. Now, if you stretch those out and you do 4 issues in a normal subscription, I think they would have had much more people buy it. But because it's £100 a box, lots of people have just said, no, it's too much. So I think price does come into it slightly. Accurate build? Nah, none of these builds are accurate. None of them, not one. They are. Now, I had this argument with Eagle Moss, and I said, but you're building an accurate version of the DeLorean, and they said you're building a representation of that build. It's the same with the Titanic as well. It's worth mentioning the way that Hachette get around it when they said, hang on, you're building an accurate version of the Titanic, and they turn around and said, we never said it was accurate. In fact, a lot of these builds, they never say it's an accurate build. They're very clever in their wording. So with the Titanic, they said, well, you're not building the accurate version of Titanic, or the one from the most popular film from James Cameron. What you're building is a museum piece, Titanic, which means certain bits are not right and are different colours and stuff, because you're not building an accurate version of the Titanic. You are building a museum piece, and I think that's where they come with a lot of this. The Enterprise build is very different in the fact that the Enterprise, they built 4 miniatures for the Enterprise build. They built a 2-foot, a 4-foot, a 6-foot, and I think they built an 8-foot as well. The problem is every single one of the models that they built for the Enterprise D are all different. Every single one is completely different. You can tell on certain episodes which model they use. So where the Enterprise D is going into warp, so you see it in the distance and it flies off like this. That is the 2-foot model, so it's not as detailed. That's why there's the shots of it flying away. On the start credits, when it flies over the top of the saucer, that is the big 6-foot model, and you can tell because the big 6-foot model is smooth. The 4-foot and the 8-foot models that they did are textured. So there's a couple of shots where they will zoom in, and you can see that they will have little blocks that are protruding all around it. That is the different model as well. So the Enterprise D is when they were asked about this, when Ben Robertson was asked about the Enterprise build, he said it's an amalgamation of all the miniature models, which is why I think some people have said that's not accurate. That shouldn't be like that. Window alignment's wrong. All of this is because they're trying to combine 4 models into one. Obviously, the same shapes there, but there are some elements that weren't there in some of the miniature models. So it's difficult to take one shot from the next generation and then compare it to your model because it's going to be different. Our model, the Enterprise D, is different than any of the ones that were going to be on screen. In regards to the DeLorean, very interestingly, I know what DeLorean they scanned. So they 3D scan a lot of these builds to build them. And they normally 3D scan a replica of the car, not the official one. So the DeLorean, they used a fan-built DeLorean, not the one that was at Universal. And there are telltale signs all over the car to prove that point. And the biggest point you can do on it, there's actually there's 4 points that you can tell that the DeLorean is not screen accurate, and it's a replica of a replica. So the first thing you'll notice is that it has a wing mirror. So in the build, you'll build the wing mirror inside in the car above the windscreen. The screen car never had that, but the replica version that they take to shows and that has that. Also, the one that they scanned was automatic, and as we all know, the DeLorean in the movie was manual. So, and they did give it up to Eagle Moss. They did change that. Secondly, if you own the model, go to it right now, lift up the passenger side, okay, and flip the seat forward. Now, behind that, you'll have a speaker and a switch box. Now, they are there because when they take the show car, which is the one that they scanned, the replica, to car shows, that allows them to switch on certain sound effects as well as the things like the flux capacitor and the stuff on the dashboard. So those switches switch on all of that, and that speaker is there, and it pumps in the sound effects for the car as well as I think it did the theme song as well. But those speakers aren't, and that switch aren't on the actual car. They're on the replica car that was scanned, but they're part of the build because when they took the build, when they took the replica, the 3D scans of the replica, they built it as the replica and not as a screen accurate car. And I think they did the same with Ecto 1 as well. Once again, they never used the official Ecto 1 car to scan. They used a replica version, which I think was on display at San Diego. When they done the announcement of Ecto 1, it was actually with the car that they scanned. So, like I said, once again, they've used a replica of a replica to scan it. And they do it with a lot of these models, by the way. The same with the Eddie Stobart truck, the Knight Rider. So a lot of the car builds they scan an actual car, 3D scan it. Sometimes they can go to the official places. I think they did that with the Mustang, the Cobra, the Jaguar E, which is what they did with at Agora. So they actually went to the museum and photographed and 3D printed or 3D scanned the actual one. So when you build that, you're actually getting a replica of the real thing. It's a little bit difficult with movie stuff. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm ranting here. Understandably from distributors, but detail is a must, and they won't profit before customer satisfaction. You say that, John, but I can tell you right now that some people, I know some people have had a horrible experience from Amazon and places like McDonald's and stuff like that, and said that they would never, ever step or use Amazon ever again. And within a couple of weeks, they're using it again. And it's the same with these models. I think a lot of people, I know a lot of people that said, I would never, I know 2 people that have said they would never do a part work ever again after they've done such and such. And then they're doing other part works now. So if we keep buying them and we don't flag these up, they will continue to bring them out and stuff like that. But like I said, a lot of this stuff, like I said, with the window alignment for the Enterprise D, there was big problems with how the windows were done, and some of the window alignment wasn't done properly. And they said, quite rightfully so as well, really, if you're looking at it from a business aspect, so they've gone, well, it was signed off by CBS, the guys who own Star Trek and distribute it. Now, if it's been signed off by the people, the big people up top, and it's been shown, it must be fine. It must be fine. It must be us, even though we know it's not right, and we know it should be changed. Companies can be a little bit like blinded and say, hang on, well, we've paid for the license, it's been signed off, so it must be right, you're wrong. And I think what we need to keep doing is having this discussion with them, so mistakes are corrected. And so stuff is corrected beforehand. But the problem is a lot of these mistakes are only found, or the problems are only found, once the build is given the green light and once we are building it. And at which point stuff's already been done and designed, and it would cost too much money to redesign it. Certain things are very, very easy to rectify. One being the Ecto 1 door. Was once again very easy to replace, and this is why they replaced it. But unless we make the noise, as a community, we sort of start saying, hang on, this isn't right, they will continue to do stuff that isn't, if you know what I mean. They need to have the passion we do. Yeah, at the end of the day, their passion is money, and that's all. And that's the only reason they make these. It's not, you can tell that we as part work builders and as model builders actually, and part work guys that do the mods, we've got the passion. It's just lacking in certain aspects. But like I said, there is some aspects to it as well. So sometimes when they build a lot of these part works, they will have people working on them who haven't a clue. So, you know, you'll say things to people that are working, that are helping to build this and design it and everything else. You'll say, well, that warp in the cell, that bit's different, it shouldn't be like that. And they're like, what's a warp in the cell? What bit are you talking about? You know, and that's the problem. I don't you can see it as well. There's a show on the TV that was focusing on Hornby. If you find it, it's on a channel called Yesterday, and it's really good. It gives you a big insight into what goes on and how they design stuff at Hornby, model kits, cars, train sets, all that sort of stuff, and how they 3D print it, and then how they make a test build of it, and then how they test that. And it's the same way with any of these part work companies, they work the same. But they get a lot of people where they go, right, this is your next project, it's the F-15, and they're like, right, okay, and then they have to go on the internet, or they have to learn and read up on the internet and start learning about the F-15. And they take photos and they go in, but I guarantee they leave out detail, and they know that as well because they scour things. But the thing is, they're more open. A lot of these part works companies aren't, and so a lot of stuff is done behind closed doors, and we only find out about it once we start building it. Really, we should be looking at these with a fine-tooth comb before they're even given the green light. But it's just the way it is, and we, as a consumer, keep buying it. So they keep going, well, it must not be too bad. Loads of people are still buying it. So they keep pumping them out. Like I said, there's over 20 active part works now, more than I've ever known in the 10 years that I've been doing this. I've never known there to be so many active part works out there, especially as well for a very, very niche market. And whether you like it or not, part works is very, very niche, I'm afraid. Best I've come across is Ecto One. Some builds are very good, but there's always bits. I find there's some aspects of some builds that are very good, and then there's attention to detail where they miss. It's just the way it is, I think. Don't mind the representation used, but the parts visible need to be more accurate. Yeah, I'm not denying that. Of course they do, because we're the ones that have to look at it all the time as well. Yeah. If the Titanic model had many inaccurate, especially the colouring being wrong, I would not class it as a museum piece. Yeah, but I remember vaguely when they first brought out, and we done the I think it was the bow section front top deck, and the decking was at the right size, so the wooden decking that they give you isn't right, and obviously they just basically color stuff. They don't go into the mega detail, so the white bits are all white and stuff like that, and it was all wrong. When Hachette was questioned about this is back when the first issue came out, they said you're building not the actual Titanic version or the replica, you're building a museum piece, so a piece that you would find in a museum. And some museum pieces are actually massively detailed, really, really well detailed. So I don't know where they come with that, but I think that is the way of them turning around and saying, if that part's wrong, remember you're building a museum piece, not fully accurate, if you know what I mean. And these companies are very good at wording stuff, by the way, to get around certain things. That's where Agora got it right. They scanned the actual E-type. Yeah, a lot of the cars they scan. So things like the Peugeot that IXO do and stuff like that, they've actually scanned. It's more difficult with the movie cars, because normally they are under lock and key, and they won't allow a company like Agora or Fanhome to take their big scanner equipment in there and scan it and everything else. It means moving it out. I think the movie DeLorean is at Universal Studios, so I don't think they would allow that. Then it's trying to track down. I know with the Knight Rider, there's a few that were used in the show. There was loads used in the show, but I think a few have been saved. But I think they're all slightly different. But yeah, a lot of the car ones, Ian, a lot of the things like they've done, even with the James Bond cars, they're going to be physical scans of the actual model itself, of the actual car. So instead of getting a representation or a replica, what they're actually getting is a full scan of the real thing. So when you build it, it should be very, very detailed and exactly like it. That's what you're hoping. See you later, John. Yeah, I'm going to call it a night now. Knight Rider is a replica. Yeah, they've scanned a replica. But it is what it is. But look, guys, thank you so much. I'm rambling on here. Thank you guys for coming on. It's been another Madhouse, as always. I'll be back next week at this time. Thanks for joining us here. Have a nice evening. And as always, we'll see you at the next video, guys. Take it easy. Thanks for coming. See ya.